It's time for more Dark Knight's Metal, the big DC event right now. Today we're going to be covering Gotham Resistance, a 4-part crossover that went from Teen Titans to the Nightwing book, to the Suicide Squad book, and then to Green Arrow. That's why the art is going to change as we're going through it. And what is this, you may be asking? Well, this is the Batman who laughed. He is going to be basically messing up Gotham, and this is Damian, Green Arrow, Nightwing, and the Suicide Squad all trying to fight against him to save Gotham. It's as epic as it sounds. In the DC Metal series, Gotham was overtaken by a giant mountain sprouting out of the middle of the city. And as it rose, so did the Dark Knights, taking control of various cities around the world. But Gotham was a special case. Gotham has the Bat family. And over in Arkham Asylum, the Riddler sits within his cell as he hears the crackdoom of lightning outside. All throughout the asylum, he hears the crow, crow, crow of some creatures coming for him. As the walls crumble, a voice can be heard, one that is familiar, yet terrifyingly different. Edward Nygma, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, this is impossible. You see my height, my builds. You hear my voice, and you know who I am. You know I am Batman, but also that I am not. You know that I am something twisted and wrong, and that terrifies you. But you shouldn't be afraid, Edward. You should be excited. I didn't come all this way to fillet you like I did in my world. I came here to deal with you. Edward is terrified as the Batman who laughs holds a card in front of his face. What kind of game are you playing? No. Your thinking is all wrong. You get to decide that for yourself. All your life you lived by a set of absolute truths, hard and fast rules that can never be broken. Well, with this card, the rules, they are broken. And you and your friends can reshape reality as you see fit. Take the card, join the fun, build the city into an impossible riddle that makes me laugh. Meanwhile, outside of Gotham, Damian Wayne is soaring in on Goliath, his pet. He looks down at what was once Gotham only to see a city covered in smoke and a mountain, and he worries. While the Teen Titans watch from their aircraft, Damian thinks to himself, when I last saw my father, he told me about the dark multiverse, an impossible place of nightmare beyond his or anybody's understanding. A place from which a threat was coming that would tear down our entire world. And then I saw something in his eyes that I'm not used to. The fear of not knowing what would be hiding in the dark. The last thing he told me was to not follow him under any circumstance. A day later, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman vanished from the face of the earth. I refuse to let Gotham fall. If Batman is in there, only I could save him. And the Teen Titans during this ended their discussion asking if Robin had them on a suicide mission. They land in the burning rubble that was once the street, and they look around trying to save as many civilians as they can. In front of them is a wall, and Aqualad tells Robin, stop! We have to do this as a team, don't go in there alone! But Damian tells him, I have to do this. I picked up a signal in this door, and if it is Batman, I have to go. He runs through the doorway without his team, when the voice of the Riddler can be heard. Have you heard of Pharaoh Imhotep II? Damian runs without a thought, shouting, show yourself! Where can I find Batman? And in front of him is nothing but a labyrinth with doors all painted with a giant question mark on them. He opens up the door yelling, fight me! And blood pours out, pushing Damian back as the Riddler informs him, I am fighting you and anyone else who breaks into Gotham. This maze is my weapon. As Damian is being washed away with a river of blood, an arrow flies over his head and someone shouts, grab hold! So Damian grabs the rope and sees that it's Green Arrow pulling him out of the mess. He asks why Green Arrow is even here, and Arrow explains that he came here when he heard the big three went down. There was an energy storm over in Gotham, and when he entered, everything started to change around him. At that moment, a ball and chain with spikes on it swings between them, and Damian runs off telling him, I don't need any help from a second stinger like you. Of course, Green Arrow falls behind him, telling him, I've been leaving arrows behind to mark where I've been. Down this particular path is a quicksand moat and a trapdoor pit of fire. Damian corrects him. There's a strong magnetic pull over there, and it's pulling your arrow, which means you went down that hallway, not this one. The two continue down the twisted and deranged hallways built by the Riddler until they find a man in a cape and a cowl who looks oddly like Batman. But this Batman tells him, you failed me, Robin. I needed you, and you weren't there, or you weren't fast enough. I'm dead because of you. That's when we see that this Batman is a zombie-looking Batman, a decaying away as we speak. Green Arrow tells Damian to get behind him because this isn't what he thinks it is, and Damian tells him, I know, it's a nightmare drawn out of my mind. And that's when Croc grabs this Batman biting into him, and Harley Quinn leaps in swinging her mallet to finish off the zombie Batman. Damian and Arrow then asks why they're there, and Harley Quinn tells her that her and Croc are on a top-secret government team kind of thingy to stop things like this. Plus, she and Croc couldn't see their home turf fall. She holds up the arrows, looking at Green Arrow, asking, are these yours? I've been collecting them all over the base. He facepalms, realizing that he now has no way of tracking where he's been. And then Harley informs them that they found the exit a while ago. So follow them! What they discover is a giant, robotic-looking Minotaur with the Riddler riding in it in a cockpit. The Riddler tells him, you've cheated! 2 of you were lost in the maze and the other 2 couldn't solve the riddle. You can't team up! He spouts the riddle, though. If you throw me from a window, I'll leave a grieving wife. If you bring me back in the door, you'll see someone giving life. He then begins to swing the mighty weapon that he has with his robot, and as Green Arrow, Harley Quinn, and Croc begin to fight, Arrow tells Damian, kid, you're the genius, time to prove it. So Damian puts it together. A grieving wife is a widow. Someone who gives life is a donor. Remove 1 letter and the donor becomes door, and 1 letter and widow becomes window. All because of 1 letter, N. And as he says the answer, he flings his batarangs into the cockpit, and the whole suit crumbles as the answer has been given. Damian demands answers as to where Batman is, and then he knocks out the Riddler as Green Arrow picks up a card. The card itself is made out of a strange metal, just like the one that Green Arrow found at the Court of the Owls a month ago while he was in Gotham. And he begins to wonder, did this metal give Nigma his powers? But Harley is the one who points to the exit, and they all step outside into the snowy part of Gotham. Damian points in the direction of the signal, and he states that this is where it's coming from. Batman must be over there. And then they see someone running towards them, and Damian hopes that it's his father, but it is in fact his brother, Dick Grayson, Nightwing, and he's being chased by a frost golem. The group joins in battling against this thing, but it grabs Nightwing, crushing him into the snow. He yells out to everyone to get the golem to a certain spot, and while Harley is confused, Croc gets it. Sun puts the time at 5:15. He kicks the golem into the spot that Nightwing called out, and the Gotham train comes barreling through, crushing it. With the threat gone, everyone looks at Nightwing to see a cut across his forehead, open and bleeding. Damian asks about it, and Nightwing explains that it's the cut that he got from Simon Hurt's Black Blade, the one made of that strange metal. It reappeared when they left the Justice League in the Amazon, which is what drew him to the city. If you're curious about the cut on his head and what that Black Blade was, check out our video, Nightwing Must Die. Nightwing explains that it's getting worse the closer he follows this metal orb, which he then shows them, and it takes off into the sky. Arrow asks if it's leading them into a trap, and Nightwing asks him, could a trap be worse than a frozen part of the city with monsters? Touché. It'll be good to have an adult around, Nightwing. And Harley snaps at him, hey, what do you mean? Damian tells them both to shut up. I'd be better off with the Teen Titans. Speaking of the Teen Titans, they are still outside of the city dealing with the civilians and the rubble and the monsters. They also run into the Suicide Squad, who for once aren't trying to kill the heroes. But back inside the snowy portion of the city, Green Arrow is striking the trees, marking their path so that no one loses track. Damian looks at him. Your old-fashioned method of marking our path is just like you. Old-fashioned! And Arrow turns to him. You got a better idea, kid? Because the deeper we go, the less things not made in the Middle Ages are working. I hope you saved your high scores, kid. And Damian scoffs. Of course I did. But while they're all trying to figure out where they are, Nightwing is thinking about his cut, the one made with the Black Blade. He thought it had poisoned his blood or something, made him see terrible things, like some sort of ancient alchemy. But now he knows the truth. Whatever metal was in that interacted with the one that was in his tooth. You see, the Court of the Owls implanted a tooth into Dick Grayson's mouth made of one of those metals. They intended for him to be turned into a Talon, but of course that didn't quite play out. As everyone looks around, they come across a Court of the Owls statue, which causes Damian to tell everyone that he thought Batman removed all traces of the court. Green Arrow wants to know why a defunct secret society has now made an appearance right in the middle of everything going to hell. And that's the moment when things get even worse as the world around them begins to freeze up, and Mr. Freeze welcomes them to his lake of ice. He appears in a suit of armor, a broadsword, and a hand that can form ice. Plus, he has a lot of ice golems. Outside of the city, the Teen Titans and the Suicide Squad run into a new problem. The Crows. Many crows. Evil creatures in the outfit of the Robins, with a singular Robin looking over them. The Dark Damian. Back at the Lake of Ice, Nightwing calls to Croc, hit the owl! And as the door slides open, everyone runs inside to escape Mr. Freeze. All around them are weapons and armor, all made up of weird metals. They've stumbled across the Armory. Green Arrow picks up all of the arrows made with it while Nightwing grabs the sword. Nightwing explains that it looks like all of the owls have been hoarding the metal to fight, and now the Gotham Resistance are the only ones left who can use it. Damian snaps at him. Fight! We shouldn't be fighting, we should be looking for Batman! The Teen Titans question whether I can be trusted. Green Arrow questions if I'm a child playing dress-up, and now you believe you're always right? You never doubt. What is wrong with you? Nightwing grabs Damian. I don't always know what's right, but I do know that we've been here before, searching for Batman. Where he is, we'll find him. Like we did before. The entire resistance suits up in armor and weapons, and they charge out of the armory to battle against Freeze and his ice golems using the metal. It doesn't take much to drop all of his golems, as the metal is their weakness, and Damian jumps in, hitting Freeze himself. With him defeated, Green Arrow picks up a card made out of the metal again, and the orb shoots past everyone, showing them that they are on the right track. Outside of the city, though, we see the Teen Titans and the Suicide Squad have failed and have been converted. They are now demons of the night, because the light is dwindling. Some time passes and the Resistance continues its journey, but now they're in an open desert driving a bus across it, being chased by evil man-bats. Green Arrow looks at Nightwing. Yeah, we're gonna die. And he asks him, what makes you think that? That's when we see Harley is driving the bus, fighting with Robin, and Croc is just along for the ride, informing everyone, I hate school buses. But don't you worry. Harley hits the gas pedal even faster, going towards the cliffside that is near them. They go barreling over it, and everyone is shouting, and Harley looks at us, the viewer, the reader. You know, reader, with your hands over your eyes. I'm amazed to think that in this brief oasis moment of frozen lucidity, amidst the tumult, that we're actually going to make it. We're definitely going to make it. I'm an excellent driver. And then Harley snaps out of it. Whose idea was this? Damian begins to shout out, Quinn! And Croc yells, Croc don't want to die! Then, out of nowhere, they stop falling and they just hover there. Plants come in out of the woodwork, grabbing each of them and yanking them out of the bus. Poison Ivy stands there, welcoming them to the green. Croc, in his infinite wisdom, informs her, I am also green. And Green Arrow chimes in, so am I! To which Nightwing responds with, I don't think you count, Green Arrow. Harley tries to talk to Ivy. They have a relationship. They're friends, and more than that. But Ivy ignores her, blinded by the new state of mind granted by the metal, because as she informs them, she can hear the doomed metal and the screams of the people. She's going to take this chance to expand her kingdom and allow the green to live. Except at that moment, Demon Starfire arrives and begins to burn everything. Nightwing is in shock that Corey is a demon, and Harley states the obvious. She's facilitating the escape of everyone. Nightwing tries to tell them all that they need to save Corey, but Robin agrees with Harley. Whatever happened to Starfire could also be affecting them. They need to complete their mission and save everyone. While Nightwing does argue, he also agrees and they escape, and they run right into the demon versions of the Suicide Squad and the Teen Titans. As Nightwing sees them all, Damian begins to panic that he lost his whole team. The cut on Nightwing's head begins to hurt, and the evil Damian leaps at him, telling him, I have a secret. The truth of what happened to Batman. Let me whisper it into your ear. While that is beginning, Harley holds her mallet up to Starfire. Let me ask you, what's stronger, an alien girl or a really big mallet? And of course, Starfire burns the mallet, leaving Harley to finish her sentence. Do tell. Green Arrow preps an arrow in his bow, looking at the Suicide Squad. An evil version of the Suicide Squad? I mean, what's the difference? That's when Ivy arrives, grabbing everyone and watching things burn. She isn't exactly happy that this is happening in her realm, which helps level the playing fields. The Gotham Resistance tries to flee and escape while Ivy creates the perfect distraction, and as they're going, the evil Damian begins to shout out, Tell them all the truth, Grayson! There's nowhere to run! He walks up behind them. You know the truth, Nightwing. Come join your brother. Give in to the dark metal. Croc leaps in, separating the Dark Damian from the group, being the guy in the middle. Shut up with your nonsense. All Croc, all carnivore, eat your face! And Harley cringes. Croc's gonna need to get a more family-friendly battle cry. That's when everyone sees the floating metal ball again, and Croc shouts, Go! Run! Save Gotham! While he's being torn apart by Dark Damian. Harley watches him sacrificing himself, and as she begins to leave, she says, Oh, nuts, now I got the feelings. They continue to run from everything, and Nightwing finally fills everyone in on what he's been seeing. The Dark Robin, he's an evil Damian from a universe where he followed his Batman into the darkness. He's also been seeing their Batman sinking into the metal, screaming in pain. Nightwing and Robin stop. I'm sorry, Robin. I don't think we're gonna find him. I think he's dead. No, you're wrong! You're not his son, you wouldn't know! Damian, Batman's not dead! He's not. I'm sorry, Damian. And at that moment, the orb reveals where it's been leading them, to the side of Mr. Terrific. It's one of his T-spheres. He explains what's actually been going on. Before all of this, Batman tasked him with investigating an unknown region beyond the known multiverse. He knew that something was coming. They've all been encountering these cards on their journey through Gotham. The metal that they are made of is incomparable energy. They are what is changing the very physics of Gotham. There are 7 twisted and depraved versions of Batman, and the one running the show is the most frightening of them all. He enlisted the help of Batman's greatest rogues, presenting them each with a card and an opportunity to recreate Gotham in their image. Of course, they each took him up on that. As they begin to run to the end of the maze, Nightwing stops because of another vision. One of music in the same chords over and over, and he also sees something. A giant machine with the Teen Titans, Croc, and the Suicide Squad all connected to it like batteries, heading to into the mountain. And Nightwing tells them, I know the plan. I could see it. They're using the cards to change people's vibrational frequencies so that the universe that we are in will tumble into the dark multiverse. They're trying to destroy everything. And Mr. Terrific tells him, it's already started on the mountain. There are hundreds of bodies strapped to it, being consumed by it. So the answer to this whole thing is simple. Stop the machine, save their friends and the city. They make their way to the machine and they find that it's walking through the city itself. And as they run towards it, Dark Damian lands in front of the good universe version of himself. I think it's time that you and I had a little heart-to-heart. On top of the machine sits Bane, now that they are in his realm, and he has an announcer who tells everyone, let's get ready to rumble! Harley begins to try and smash the machine, but Mr. Terrific tells her to stop. If they do that, they're gonna kill everyone hooked up to it. Harley sees Croc and tells her, kill me. Kill us all. I've seen Barbados in the world that he's making. Kill me now. And that's when the music begins to blare as the Batman who laughs rides up on a hot rod with a gun attached to it and fire blowing out of the exhaust. See, out of all of the realms, this one might be my favorite. At least Bane is a man who knows what he wants. Right, Dr. Quinn? Harley is shocked. Mr. B? It's good to see you again. I've missed you. See, in my world, you and we've actually ridden off together in the end. Isn't that right, Raven? Raven tells everyone to run. This Batman is full of nothing more than evil, and he leaps out of the car. That's because I couldn't find a good therapist to talk to. Harley thinks about it for a second, and then the little demon Robin show up dragging her off. Everyone begins to break out into a fight, and the Dark Damian begins giving problems to Damian and Nightwing. That is when Green Arrow pulls out one of the arrows that has the metal, and he fires it into the little demon child. The Dark Damian grabs Robin, throwing him in the way, and Green Arrow falls to his knees asking himself, what did I do? Bruce, I'm sorry, I failed you. Dark Damian begins to laugh. See? They all turn on you, brother. They can't be trusted. They never could. Now, come here so that I can tell you what I came to tell you before you bleed out. You see, the dark multiverse isn't a place where your worst nightmares live. It's also where your greatest hopes come to life. So here's the thing that no one wants to tell you, but I will. The Dark Knight to the Batman who laughs? Me? They call us father's greatest fears, but the opposite is actually true, brother. Look inside of yourself. You want his love as I did, and the truth is, I've never felt more loved and less alone than before. Robin thinks about it. We're all connected by the blood. And he shoves the arrow tip into the Dark Damian as it's jutting out of his back. Into the metal! There's a bzzzt boom sound as the Dark Damian is inked out of existence. And at that moment, the Batman who laughs tells them all, well then, let me show you what those cards can really do. And boom! The boom tube opens up with the dark metal Batman all holding the body of Cyborg wrapped up around them. Then there's a blaring light above the resistance and Dr. Fate appears out of nowhere. Stay back, nightmares of the dark multiverse! As Damian begins to call out that they have to find Batman, Dr. Fate grabs him telling him, your destiny is not here! And he warps him away. As they enter the Tower of Fate, Damian and Nightwing are frustrated because they didn't do anything. They didn't save Batman or Gotham or even their friends. And Green Arrow takes out that arrow and he tells them, no, but we did learn how to kill them. It's in the metal. And there you have it, another one of the tie-in events for the DC Metal event. Don't forget to subscribe so that next Wednesday you can get the next part of this series. And I will see you right here tomorrow with yet another video. Check out the DC Metal playlist right here. Check out something recommended by YouTube over here. And if you're metal enough, subscribe. I may have spit a little.